Qatar has exposed Donald Trump's lies on the ceasefire between Iran and Israel. And why are we not surprised? Remember how often Trump has repeatedly claimed that both Iran and Israel had reached out to him seeking his intervention to achieve a ceasefire? Now, of all the countries, Qatar, a close ally of the USA, has come out in the open to bust his lies. If anything, the statement by an advisor to the Qatari Prime Minister suggests that it was the missile attack on the US military base in Qatar by Iran that forced Trump to immediately think of a ceasefire. Meanwhile, Israeli terrorists have continued to slaughter more innocent Palestinians, mainly children in Gaza. Now let's look at these two key developments from the Middle East in detail. Remember Trump's repeated claims that both Iran and Israel had approached him since they were tired of fighting? He also kept saying that the US strikes on three key Iranian nuclear facilities in Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan were what had forced the Iranians to agree for a ceasefire. He made this astonishing claim as recently as last week, only a few days ago, when he was visiting the Netherlands for the NATO summit.
And they're both tired, exhausted. They fought very, very hard and very viciously, very violently. And they were both satisfied to go home and get out. And can it start again? I guess someday it can. It could maybe start soon. I think a big telltale sign was when, as you know, Iran somewhat, by not much, violated the ceasefire. And Israel had the planes going out that morning, and there were a lot of them, 52 of them. And I said, you got to get them back. And they brought them back. They didn't do anything. They brought them back. It was very good. I thought it was amazing. Well, maybe they were hit, but it wasn't bad. Well, it was so bad that they ended the war. It ended the war. Somebody said in a certain way, you know, that it was so devastating, actually. If you look at Hiroshima, if you look at Nagasaki, you know, that ended a war too. This ended a war in a different way, but it was so devastating.
But according to Al Jazeera, the government-owned media platform in Qatar, an advisor to Qatar's Prime Minister and spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Majid bin Mohammed Al Ansari, has told the channel that it was Trump who had requested the Qatari Prime Minister for a ceasefire. Al Ansari said that after Iran attacked the US airbase in Qatar on Monday last week, Trump called the Qatari Prime Minister and said a deal might be imminent. I'm going to play the clip for you. This man is no ordinary person. As I said, he's an advisor to the Qatari Prime Minister and the spokesperson for the Ministry of External Affairs. He is saying that immediately after Iran stunned everyone with a missile attack on the US airbase in Qatar, Trump was on the phone with the Qatari Prime Minister talking about the ceasefire.
Last week was there was a very difficult day for Qatar. It's the first time in our history to receive such an attack from an external power. We have seen 19 missiles target a Qatari base, which is a Ludaid base housing U.S. forces in Qatar. And we are very thankful and very proud of our military, where multiple Qatari Patriot units across two different sites were able to down all but one of these missiles, which resulted in no injuries and no property damage almost at all. And that moment is the moment when we got the call from President Trump that a deal might be imminent and that a ceasefire might be possible with Israel. And it was requested of Qatar by President Trump in his call to His Highness to start the process on finalizing between both sides how we can reach an agreement. And this is when our Prime Minister immediately, right after the attack, the minute the attack ended, the Prime Minister went on calls with the VP of the United States, J.D. Vance, and we had calls with the Iranian side as well, including the call between His Highness and the Iranian president right the next day. And we were able throughout that night, that very difficult night for us here in Qatar, to bring about the ceasefire that is in place right now. And as I said, now the momentum created by this ceasefire is something we want to build up on to reach a more sustainable peace in the region.
Nowhere does this key Qatari official say that Iran was desperate for a ceasefire because B-2 bombers from the US had destroyed its nuclear facilities. That's what Trump has been saying to all of us for so many days. Even Trump supporters and former American diplomats had gone public to announce that Trump was desperate to achieve a ceasefire because he didn't want Israel to receive any more battering from Iran. Steve Bannon, a former top strategist of Trump, was one of them.
Yesterday, they took this ceasefire was as much to save Israel. That's the hidden story here. They bit off way more than they could chew.
But it seems Trump was simply too scared by the prospect of Iranian missiles targeting other US military bases in the region. This latest revelation clearly shows that lying and making false claims have become a hallmark of the US president's personality. Whilst we have been busy covering the Iran-Israel conflict, Israeli terrorists have continued to slaughter more innocent Palestinians. They include men, women, children, and babies. Even though Trump told us yesterday that a ceasefire could be expected in Gaza within a week, this hasn't deterred evil Israelis from killing children and babies for fun. In its latest act of barbarism, Israeli terrorists launched air attacks on the Al Tufa neighborhoods in Gaza City, killing at least 20 people, including 9 children. The videos of this genocidal act is so disturbing that I couldn't upload them even on our Telegram channel. Imagine, I couldn't muster the courage to see those children and babies being carried by Palestinian rescue workers. But Israeli terrorists slaughtered these angels without any hesitation or guilt. You wouldn't find a more barbaric and pure evil people than these Israelis. They would go down in history as the most heartless, soulless, depraved, and deranged people. Thanks to bloodthirsty terrorist Benjamin Netanyahu, Gaza is now grappling with a different problem altogether: the rise of gang wars within Palestinians. This was after a pro Israeli gang in South Gaza recently raided the Nasser hospital, the last functioning hospital in the region, and caused widespread carnage. Members of this outfit, which is called Abu Shabab Armed Gang, later took pride in causing destruction in the hospital and setting cars on fire before kidnapping many people from the hospital premises. War criminal Netanyahu, wanted by the International Criminal Court, recently admitted. He admitted supplying lethal weapons to this armed gang. Clearly, the aim is to push Gaza into a never-ending anarchy. And if this is not enough, Trump and Netanyahu are also facing condemnation for mixing food materials such as flour meant for starving Palestinians with narcotic pills. The plan is clear. Those who manage to survive the Holocaust must not be able to live a normal and healthy life. And the Palestinians will be suffering the after effects of the Israeli and US atrocities for generations to come. Elsewhere, Israeli terrorists on Saturday blew up a Palestinian home in the Jenin refugee camp in the occupied West Bank. This came amidst several reports of more Israeli atrocities and stealing of Palestinian land in the occupied West Bank. This is happening with the blessing of Trump and, more importantly, the US taxpayers' money. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.